Hey folks, David Stewart here. It's time to talk a little bit more about keys. Thus far in this music theory series, I have talked about everything. I've explained all the concepts in the key of C major. It's time to break out of that little box and talk about all the other different keys there are. C major is a great place to start because it's all the white keys on the piano. It's very easy to understand some of those relationships. But as we start to progress, we need to have a deep understanding of how all these other keys work and how they are related to each other. So I'm going to introduce two concepts today, or two little keywords. The first one is key and the second one is tonic. I've already talked about tonic and I've already talked about key, but I want to give some formal definitions for how I think these should work in the music theory context. A key, when we're talking about music theory, we're not talking about like a key on a clarinet. We're talking about a system, and the keyword there is system in the definition, a system of related pitches. And every key, in order for it to be a key and truly in the tonal system, it has to have a tonic. And the tonic is the main note in a key. Okay? In a key. There it is. Okay. So system of related pitches, and I like to say that establishes a tonic. So when you're using it, you're going to end up with a tonic that emerges when you're using it properly, when you're using the key system properly. And the tonic is the main note or chord in a key. So let's put chord underneath it as well. So we have a tonic chord and we have a tonic note. In the key of C major, the tonic is C, and the tonic chord is C major. In the key of A minor, the tonic is A and the tonic chord is A minor. We have both major and minor keys. Now, the thing about keys is that every key, every major key, has 7 notes in it. If we go back and we look at all the chords that we did on those previous videos, we had 7 chords. We have seven notes in every key, and each key has a different 7 notes when we're talking about major keys. And every single major key has the same relationship between those 7 notes. And if you were to look at your piano keyboard, what you would find is that there's a system, or there's a pattern of whole steps if you just go up the scale of a major scale. And that scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that's something that you can identify any major scale as will have that pattern. And the way that you can see it on a keyboard is that if there's a black key between 2 white keys, that's what's called a whole step. And if there's no black key between it, that's called a half step. The distance between any black key and the white key right next to it is always a half step. On guitar, a whole step is always 2 frets and a half step is always 1 fret. So if I wanted to play E major, I could play E, a whole step, 2 frets, whole step, to the 4th fret, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, and then you have an E major. And you could do that for any key. You could start on any note and you get the same pattern. We could take a pattern here and put it across 3 different strings and have that exact same relationship anywhere we wanted to put it. That's a whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. But we're just spreading it across a couple of different strings rather than having it go all the way up like this. Okay? So it's always the same relationship, whatever major key you happen to be in. Now there's a way that you can tell what key you're in, and that's called a key signature. So at the beginning of every piece of music, you'll have a clef. So this is called a clef. That's a treble clef right there. And so it's called a clef. Bam. Not cleft like cleft palate, but clef without a T. And after the clef, but before what's called the time signature, you don't have a time signature of 4/4, you're going to have a key signature. And that's going to be a set of sharps and flats that's going to basically tell you what key you're in. Now the hard part that music students have is seeing those sharps and flats, knowing what they represent, what key they're supposed to be playing in, and also being able to go backwards in that, say D major, and then be able to know it's 2 sharps, or see 2 sharps and know it's D major. Now as an instrumentalist, it's pretty easy to figure this out, because if there's 2 sharps, what that lets you know is that in the whole piece, those 2 notes will always be sharp. In this case, it's F sharp, because it's drawn on the top line, F, and it's C sharp, which was drawn on the C space here. So F and sharp would always be sharp in this particular piece of music. Now, the other thing you have to know is that since every key has a different set of notes with it, it has a different set of sharps and flats. However, you will never have certain sharps without other sharps being present. You'll never have certain flats without other flats being present in the key signature. There's a very strict order. And there's a key, if you look at a keyboard, there's a key for every single note on the keyboard. Every single white key, every single black key has a key that's associated with it. On the guitar, there's a key for every single fret. There's 12 frets before you get to the octave. And that's going to be true on any instrument. You have a key for every single note that you have. Here's how the system works, is you have C, which has no sharps or flats. That's the key of C. And as you start to add sharps, you add them in a particular order. And the order that you add sharps in is always the same. And it always goes in this order, which is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And once you have all 7 notes sharp, you're out of notes to make sharp. Okay? So if we're going to add them in order, we're going to go F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, B sharp. Look at all those sharps. I drew them out nice and big spaced here, so you can see all 7 sharps all lined up. Now you can remember this order. The way that I like to remember it is Fresno City garbage dumps always eat bananas. You could say like fat chicks get dates after 8 beers. whatever thing you want to come up with to remember the order of them. The sharps are always in this order. You're never going to get a G sharp without anything else present, okay, not in a key signature. So these always have the same relationship, and you're always adding sharps in the same order. Now, how do you go backwards from here? How do you figure out what key you're in? Well, with a sharp key, it's really easy. You find the last sharp, and the note above that last sharp, that would be the tonic of whatever key you're in. So if you have 7 sharps, the last sharp is actually not C. Remember, C is no sharps and flats, but C sharp, because we have a C sharp right here. So this would be the key of C sharp major. And you can go through each one of these. So as you add an F sharp, it's going to be the note above it, G. As you add a C sharp, it's going to be the note above C, D. As you add a G sharp, it's going to be the note above G sharp, which is A. As you add a D sharp, it's going to be the note above D, E. As you add an A sharp, it's going to be the note above that, which is B. As you add an E sharp, it's going to be the note above that, not F, but F sharp, because remember, we already have F sharp here. So when you have 6 sharps, it's F sharp major. When you have 7 above B, it becomes C sharp major. And it's very easy to remember like that. Now, the flats, as we go through this, we have how many keys? 7 keys. Flats go in the opposite direction. So once we get to 7 sharps, we stop adding sharps because we can't add any more sharps. Every note is sharp. But from there, we can start adding flats and tonicize more of the flats because we only have 7 of the 12 notes that we've created a tonic for adding sharps. So now we need to add flats. Flats go in the opposite direction. So sharps go this way, flats, that's a flat. Sharp looks like a little hashtag. And my sharps don't look particularly great in this video. Apologies for that. Flats go in the opposite direction. Okay. So flats are B, E, A, D, G, C, F. All right. Now, if we go through flats, the way that we figure out flat keys is a little bit different. So let's draw a double bar, and we'll draw a couple of flats here. Let's draw 3. Okay. The way that you figure out a flat key is that you go to the last flat that you've written, and remember, they're always written in the same order. So when you write them, formally, we've formalized how we write them. We don't write them in any old order. We write them precisely in this order going left to right. B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So if you have these flats, you just go to the second to last flat. So it's the second to last. That's the name of the key. So we go to the second to last flat. This is the key of E flat major. E flat major. Bam, we figured it out. Now, we can do this going all the way across, but there's a couple of problems. So we start with B. If we have just one B as a flat, what's the second to last flat? Well, we actually have to go back to the beginning. So what the key is, as we're adding flats, it's always the one before it, as we're looking at this order. So if we have one flat, which is B flat, it's the one before it. We have to go back to the beginning here, F. So this is actually the key of F right here, okay? As we add 2 flats, B flat, E flat, it's the one before it, B flat. Not B, but B flat. Remember, we already had B for the sharps. As we go to this one, it's the one before it, E flat. So as we get all the way to the end, we get 7 flats. Every single one's flat, and the key would be the key of C flat, okay? Now, if you're adding these up, you may notice some math that's not quite working. And that's because we have 7 sharp keys and we have 7 flat keys, but how many notes do you have in an octave? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Before we get to the end again. We have 12 notes that we can have keys, but we have 14 keys. What the hell is that about? Okay. A couple of those keys could be expressed as 2 different key signatures. So the last 2 in any, whether you're going flat or sharp, the last 2, so these 2 if you're doing flats, and these 2 if you're doing sharps, can be expressed as a different note. And this is because of inharmonic equivalency. So as we get to all the way to 7 sharps, B, and we're in the key of C sharp major, we could actually express that as D flat major and just have 5 flats, the last flat being G. Okay, so when we have 7 sharps, we could just express that as 5 flats. If we have 6 sharps, we could explain it as 6 flats. So C flat, yes. So if we get to the end and we have G flat, key of G flat, which is 6 flats, is the same as the key of F sharp, which is 6 sharps. Okay, and sometimes you're going to see this expressed as what's called the circle of fifths. We'll talk about the importance of the circle of fifths probably in the next video, but for now I wanted to explain the order of keys and the fact that you always have this system. It's the same relationship. If you were to write the key signature and then write the scale starting on the tonic and then follow it along the piano, you'd find that there's or do it on the guitar, same thing. You're going to find that there's an order of whole steps and half steps that go all the way up the instrument and produce the same relationship between pitches. So the next question is, why don't we just play everything in C major if the relationship is the same? And the answer is because as we change between keys, we get a lot of different effects. And some instruments have a different sound with certain keys than they do with different other keys. And the other explanation would be in the old style of tuning, like well-tempered tuning or just intonation, different keys actually sound different from one another in terms of color. And we have lost most of those color differences as we've created true equal tempered tuning, the 12-note equal tempered system. We've lost those colors, but if you were to go back and play Baroque music, you'd probably get a lot of those colors back, which would mean that F sharp would really sound very significantly different in terms of the color of the chords and the color of the music than a C major or G major would. We kind of lost that, but as we change between keys, we're still going to have an effect when we start changing between the keys. And also there's a range with certain instruments in our voice. So certain voices are not going to do well in, say, like an F major, because the F might be too high. So a bass singer having to sing a high F might not work, but if it was in like B flat, it'd probably be okay to sing the high B flat without any problems. Hopefully that's been informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The next one, we're going to talk about the circle of fifths. We're going to take this same order and the same relationship. We're going to put it on a big wheel, and we're going to see how that works. And you'll notice if you're moving in notes of 5, you're moving between dominant and tonic as you change keys. That will be fun to look at. I may do a supplement to this where I will show you how some of these things look on the keyboard rather than just on the guitar. But until then, I'll see you guys next time, and have a great, great day.